Hi, I'm Nora Whittington with the Immigration Partnership of Waterloo Region. Our immigration partnership is one of approximately 80 across Canada. The goal of an immigration partnership is to ensure the successful integration of immigrants and refugees in Waterloo Region. Our goal is to look at housing, healthcare, English language, employment, and the true sense of belonging that we hope immigrants and refugees will have in our community. Our goal is to ensure that we can connect employers to immigrant and refugee talent in our region. And we partner with the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce to ensure that we can reach employers and share our message and be an ambassador for our community. We are really pleased to be able to support the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce on various initiatives, including these webinars. So welcome today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Newman, and my colleague John Musach is here today, and we're delighted to talk to you about the Temporary Foreign Worker Program. So just a little bit about Newman HR. So our company helps clients with a wide variety of human resource requirements, including recruiting, compensation, performance management. And so we're delighted to be able to share some of the work we're doing on the Temporary Foreign Worker Program. Over to you, John.
Yes. So, hi everyone. I'm John Massey, and I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. And here we are together with Newman HR and Kiran and Melissa regarding talking about the process of temporary foreign worker program and how we can help the employer here and the overseas skilled candidate to bring them here to fulfill the requirement of employers to run their facilities smoothly.
And so working in partnership, John and I have the ability to assist companies with recruiting as well as staffing, and in particular with the foreign worker recruitment. And at the same time, we also provide immigration assistance. So we're kind of a one-stop shop for your recruiting needs in this regard. So for today, we're going to talk a little bit about our services so you understand what we do. We'll talk about some of the hiring challenges you may be facing as an organization, and also provide you some detail about how the Temporary Foreign Worker Program works and that process to make it simple and easy for you today. What we've recognized over the last few years, and in particular since COVID, is that we really do have hiring challenges. And so many of you have let me know that there's you're feeling the labor shortage. It's also a competitive job market, so demands are getting more and more from employees. And at the same time, we've got a skill shortage in terms of finding adequately trained employees. And at the same time, we also want to make sure we retain your best employees in this market. So clearly, there is a labor shortage, and it's getting more pronounced. And we're seeing that jobs are taking much longer to fill. And so typically, it could be 60 days, it could be more. I've had some searches go on for 2 months and so on. So again, we want to make sure we kind of manage through that labor shortage. And we've had shortages right across the board, from restaurant workers, construction industry, healthcare workers, and manufacturing. So these are really a challenge for us. And the idea is, ideally, we want to find the right people at the right time. Also, we recognize it's a very competitive job market. And so Canadian companies are struggling to find the right labor to do that. And again, making sure that you as an employer have the right offerings for your staff. As we talk about the skill shortage, there's a wide variety of causes for that. Part of it's increased automation. We also find that as we look at your demands or what you need from your staff, it's difficult to match that up at this point in time. And certainly for technical and practical and job-specific skills, we're seeing quite a large gap there. And at the same time, we're also finding a shortage with employees in digital and science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, as well as a high demand for digital-oriented jobs, particularly in this region. At the same point, we also recognize that as you have great employees that you want to keep, it's really becoming a challenge to retain them. And so businesses are having to ensure you've got good employee benefit plans, you've got good ways to orientate employees, and employees will be looking for other jobs. So whatever you're doing to recruit people, you want to make sure that as you bring them on board, you can keep them for a reasonable period of time. I'm going to turn it over to John now to talk a little bit about how we integrate our services.
Hello, everyone. I just want to discuss a few things about the program Frank was talking about. So here I would like to start with the role, how we work, how we are collaborated and how we work and how we help the employer as a client. So first of all, we provide a complete solution for the employment to our clients. And there is a process, like being Canadian, the first priority is to provide job and provide employees to the employer from the Canadian only. And secondly, permanent residents, then open work permit holder, and there are lots of postgraduate work permit holder, temporary foreign worker. So our first priority is to provide the employee to the employer from this category. And when we meet our clients as an employer, the first step is for the process is finding the requirement. What exactly a requirement our employer need? What type of skill they need? And then whatever the pool we have, I'll be talking in the next slide how we categorize our candidate. Like there is a permanent residence or Canadian citizen, there is a temporary worker, and there is a candidate in the pool of overseas candidates. So first is this the first of all we ask our employer what exactly they need, and once we get the requirement, then we match the candidate from our pool on priority Canadians local. And meanwhile, we advertise the job on the different platforms so the whole community or overall nationwide the people should know that opening. And whatever the skill come up, we try to screen them, and then after screening, we introduce them to the employer for the next round of interview. And most of the time, we are able to meet the requirement of our client with our Canadians candidate. But the next point is if we are not able to fulfill the requirement with our locals, then our next pool is to find the employer from overseas. And that overseas program is called temporary foreign worker program. So we bring the temporary foreign worker for a period of time, for example, 2 year or 3 year, depend upon the requirement of the employer, how long they want. In standard, that work permit issued by the ICCRC is normally it's a 2 year, but sometimes it's 3 year also. It's depend upon the category of the work permit under which category we are bringing the candidate here. Uh, Once we get the requirement, once we are not able to find the locals, then we introduce our local foreign worker candidate to the employer. If employer like that, if the candidate is able to clear the interview, is matching the requirement of the client, then it is next step is getting job offer for our foreign worker from the employer. Once we get the job offer, then we start about the process of LMIA, which is called Labor Market Impact Assessment. The basic of this LMIA is assessment of our employer. So that is the employer qualifying under this program or not? And if they are qualifying for the LMIA program or temporary foreign worker program, then we submit that application to the ESDC for the processing and for the approval of LMIA. Once we get the LMIA approved from the ESDC, then the next step is to applying for the work permit for candidates living in overseas. And meanwhile, our clients is in urgency. They need the candidate to run their facility hassle-free. So what we do, as we know, there is some process for the LMIA, which take in standard, it take about 4 to 6 weeks. And also it depends upon the type of LMIA, under which category and which profession for we are hiring the worker. For example, if it is for agriculture worker, it take about 10 working days. If it is high wages, it take about 30 working days. If it is PR pathway, I will be talking about that thing later on. So if it is PR pathway, it take more than that. So definitely the employer need candidate for the time being until the temporary foreign worker are coming. So to fulfill this gap, we have also agency staff which can be used as a standby worker. So once we get the LMIA, we applied for the work permit, as I already said. Then the temporary foreign worker, once they get their work permit, they came to Canada on a temporary foreign worker program. And once their work permit is approved, we planned according to their joining date and according to the date when employer is willing to take the candidate start the job. Then we plan their ticket and landing and their post landing services. And that is also one of our job to facilitate the temporary foreign worker so they can settle in the community easily and they should not be face a big problem. So how we approach normally? First of all, as I already said, our priority is the local candidate pool. So in the local, there is a permanent citizen, Canadian permanent residence, the people already here on open work permit, spousal work permit, and especially in the metro cities like GTA or if we talk about Cambridge, Kitchener-Waterloo, there are so many candidates, those who came here as a student, and they are allowed to work uh, for specific hours. So we try to fulfill the requirement with these candidates, first of all. And if we are not able to find the required skill for our employer, then the next pool we work for is the temporary foreign worker. Sometimes the candidates are already here on a visitor visa, and sometimes they are sitting in their own country. And if they are sitting in their own country or if they are here but not allowed to work, then we process the same as I already told, that LMIA process, then their work permit. And normally from the day one to end, it take about, I would say, 8 to 10 week, I would say. So for that 8 to 10 week, we facilitate our clients with the agency staff. And definitely they will not be skilled, but yes, for the time being, our employer can manage their manpower with this agency staff. And temporary foreign worker, as we all know, Canada is a country of immigrants. So we know what is the contribution of immigrants here in Canada with the national growth. So we have some statistics here from 2010 and then 2021. So how we increase, like in 2010 it was 111,000, then in 2000 it was 77, and then it's gradually increased. And we all know every second person or third person in Canada is immigrant. So they are playing a big role in the Canadian economy. So I would say work permit, when we were talking about the LMIA and work permit is a document authorized or issued by the IRCC, which allowed to a temporary foreign worker to work in Canada legally. And that work permit is based on the LMIA. Sometimes the work permit is open, but the process we are talking about, most of the time the work permit will be closed. If we are bringing the candidate from overseas to our client here in Canada, uh, the difference between the open work permit and closed work permit is in case of closed work permit, the employee will be only allowed to work for that specific employer for the duration is authorized in the work permit condition. As I already said, it's normally 2 years, but sometimes it's 3 years as well. And open work permit, In that case, we don't need any type of LMIA, we don't need any special documentation from our employer. But in that case, if the employer is not having any obligation, then the employee is having more right as well. They are free to move, they are free to resign, they are free to join another candidate, as Frank said about the retention. So in the case of open work permit, the retention is a little bit lesser than the closed work permit. So as I said, the Canadian temporary foreign worker allow Canadian employer to hire worker from to fill the temporary position, and the authority in the process is ESDC, and the another one is IRCC. ESDC assess the employer documentation and they authorize them to hire the temporary foreign worker, and IRCC check their background, their criminal record, their health, their history, and then IRCC issue the work permit to the worker, so that they are after getting the work permit, they are allowed to work here in Canada for a specific employer legally. So here are some benefits of temporary foreign worker for the employer and as well as for the employee. So taking into account current situation, Canadian job market, it has become imperative and for employer to address skill shortage. As we all know, like if we talk about the metropolitan city like GTA or uh, I would say main cities in Canada like Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, Cambridge, Kitchener, Waterloo, there the employer are easily taking the candidate, getting the candidate. Sometimes they are facing the problem to find the exact skill they need, but yes, for general labor they are okay to find. But if we go a little bit on a remote side, then most of the employer are facing trouble because everyone as an immigrant or Canadians, they want to live in the metropolitan city. So temporary foreign workers facilitate employer bring specific skill, and that specific skill can also help the Canadians to get more job, because when we are settling a facility, we are having more skilled person from overseas. With the help of this temporary foreign worker skill, our Canadian also get training, they learn more, and then there are more jobs in the market with the same employer or in the market, right? So incorporating the temporary foreign worker program, lower company employee turnover. Temporary usually has 2 or 3 year contract, as I said. So in most cases, foreign workers study beyond their contract, stay and they stay beyond. If somebody is working for a employer for 2 to 3 years, then definitely they have more uh, mingled up with the local community, with the company, with the employer. Then it is hard for everyone to leave the job as soon as the contract over. So in most cases, we have experienced that the employee are staying with the employer after the contract finish. While they are not under any obligation to stay with this particular employer, but yes, they like to stay there because there is more chance to for them to grow. And living in leveraging global talent through the temporary foreign worker program can increase your pool candidate and access to skill that are not available locally. Ultimately, the final goal is to business hiring foreign worker and running smoothly despite labor shortage in Canada turn boost the economy of Canada as well. So how the process work. I would like to go a little bit about the process, how we start the assessment of the employer and up to what access we help the temporary foreign worker as well as our client to get the temporary foreign worker and to participate in this program. So the first work is we as a Newman HR and Bestow Immigration presence have in different areas, and we are immigration team and hiring team together. So once we are we find a employer who is looking for temporary foreign worker or who is looking for employment. So suitable worker from within Canada and other countries are screened and put into the pool. This is how we have a pool of different, like three pools, one with the Canadian candidates, another one is the temporary foreign worker, and the third one is agency staff. And once we get the checklist from the employer, first of all, we assess are they eligible to be participate in the temporary foreign worker or not. If they are, then we have three options for the employer to fulfill their requirement. Before introducing the employee to the employer, we screen them, we interview them, and we specify with their capability, like their skill, their English language, and their education under which category and what is the best job and position which they can fill with their skill. So candidates that pass the series of interview are finally listed and are presented to the client as our employer. And employer conduct interview as well, and then select candidates for hiring. And once they are hired, then the job offer is given to the candidate. And once the job offer is there, then it is our immigration team job to apply for the LMIA. And then there is a list of document which we gave to our employer. Okay, to apply for the LMIA, we need these document. And once we get all the document required from the employer, we applied for the LMIA. Once the LMIA is approved, we process for their work permit, depend upon the country where they are looking, where they are sitting. And sometimes the work permit is on the port of entry, and sometimes they have to wait in their own country to for the processing of their work permit. Once work permit is approved, applicant get approval and the partners with employer to provide post landing services. We do the post landing services, for example, for their temporary accommodation, their ticketing, their government IDs like SIN number, health card, and insurance for the initial until the provincial or federal health benefits or health insurance is activated. And once we get everything, our employer knows on what date the employee is coming. Our employee knows where I'm going and what type of job and what is the role which I'm going to play. And we arrange everything, and then the employee start their work with the new employer, with the new opportunity. So this was the short flow chart we designed to give you a little bit blink about the process, how the process works. So that was from my side, Frank. So please go ahead.
Yes. So John has had a remarkable success in helping employers with this. So John, just a couple of questions for you. So John, how do you ensure that people are qualified to do the work that's asked of the employers?
Yeah. So as I said, first of all, we assess and we get the checklist from the employer, and we know what experience, what skill exactly the employer is looking for. And then if we, as I said, if we are not able to find a local candidate, then we have already candidate in the pool of temporary foreign worker. And to to find out if they are really like qualified for this job, definitely their educational assessment is the one thing. And the educational assessment is not done by me or company or agency in their home country. That educational assessment is done by the educational credential assessment designated company in Canada. There are five main companies, which is uh, World Education Services, Toronto University, that there is ICAS, there are ICAS. So five agencies are designated by the Canadian government, those who are only authorized to make an assessment for the internationally educated candidate. One thing. And to find out if like their language eligibility, we only trust on the internationally standard documentation, which is one very popular is IELTS. This is the internationally education English assessment services. So most of the candidates are assessed for their language eligibility with their what do you say, IELTS scorecard or SALPIP or KL, and their education is assessed by the designated agency in Canada. And for the experience, as I said, we have our interview team, like HR team, with those who interview them, and then also we present them to the employer. So during the interview, we find, oh, if the candidate is really qualifying for this job or not. So this is the process.
Very good. So there really is a large series of quality checks as you go through it, right from their education to their language and so on. So as we present an employee, potential employee to an employer, they're already highly pre-screened.
Yes.
John, yeah.
Yes. Also, is like depends on the industry which they are coming from. As we are hiring for our nursing home here in Canada. So for them, the medical, we make sure they should not be having bringing any special like a specific disease in Canada. Like, so medical is the one thing. Their criminal history,
Mm.
all these are done in advance so that we should not waste the time or we should not make the process delay to do this background check like medical history and their police like criminal record. So
Great. So it's a very thorough process.
yes.
John, what's special about the work that you and your team do is that you also help them when they land here, right? Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about what you do to help them as they step off the plane.
Yes, so as I said, for the immigration process, yes, we do everything for their qualification assessment, their what exactly they need before they apply for the work permit, right? And once they get the work permit, we communicate with our candidate as well as with the employer on what date employer need them to be on job. And most of the case, we got the answer from of this question from our employer. They said we need them as soon as possible. So as soon as mean once they get work permit approved by the government, then we plan them their air ticket. We find the at least 15 days accommodation here so
Mm.
that they should not face any trouble. Yes, after 15 days, they can find themselves their permanent accommodation, but we help them to finding accommodation. We make them a city tour for the first day.
Mm.
First day of the work, most of the time our team take the candidate to the workplace and they introduce with the HR or the reporting authority. So after that they take care of themselves and we don't leave them alone.
Very good. I think that's important because newcomers struggle to understand the culture and the how to get around the cities and so on.
Yes.
One final question for you, John.
Yeah.
Even when our clients hire Canadian employees who are already here, sometimes it doesn't work out. Either their behaviors are not suitable or they're not capable of doing the job. Is it possible if we bring somebody uh, in through a permit to terminate that employment if they're completely not suitable?
Yes. Of course there is a process like let's say as I said we have like stages of interview and everything. Sometimes still there is a possibility that candidate is not able to perform the job as it was expected. So in that case, both side employee has right to resign the job and employer has the right to terminate the employee. And once the employer terminate the employee, then in that case they are not allowed to work for anyone until they get a new work permit from somewhere else, or they have to leave the country and go back.
Okay. So employers are not locked into keeping that employee for the full period if they're not successful.
No, that termination terms remain same as the locals.
Okay, great. Very good. Very good. Well, that's all the questions I had for you today, John. So I want to thank everyone for listening to us. We are delighted to help you with your recruiting needs. And as I say, we can certainly guide you through the temporary foreign worker program. Uh, Happy to be of service, happy to answer any calls as well if you just want to check in and see, well, what about this? Again, we want to help Canadians and other immigrants across the world create and have great lives here in Canada, great opportunities. So thank you. John, any final words from you?
Yes, so thank you very much, Kiran and Melissa. So I hope I was able to answer all the question from Frank's side. If you have any question, here is the contact detail for Frank and me. We can be contacted anytime on by email or over the phone for any further query for regarding this program. So
Very good.
that was
Thank,
from my side.
yeah.
Thank you very much for being here, all of you.